So in the previous video, I have given the examples and how we create the XPath. And now in this video, I am going to show you how we create the CSS selector. So what is the CSS selector? CSS selector are used to find or select element of HTML DOM. So in this video, I will give multiple examples, different type of examples, like how we create the CSS selector. So now let's start. So let me inspect the element. Let me zoom this. Okay. So now suppose that this is the input box, and if we want to create the CSS selector of this input box, so how we do that? So first of all, we can use the ID. So we always give the first preference to ID while creating the XPath or CSS selector, because most of the times is 99% ID will be always unique. So that's why we will prefer to use the ID while creating the element locators. So this is the ID. So here we can use this ID. So how we do that? So first we start with hash, then ID. So here, when I use this ID, it will highlight the element here. So this is the CSS selector to find out the element, corresponding elements, which ID is user underscore name. So how it will work, like how we create this. So first of all, we will use the hash, then ID. ID is attribute, and we need to put here the ID value, right? ID attribute value. So let me show another example here. So second, this is the another input box. This is related to password. So it has a ID, also user name and password. This is the user password. So I can use here hash again. ID will always start with hash and then ID attribute value. So now you can see this is highlighted to the password field. So we can use this ID to create the CSS selector. Let me give another example. So like this is the input box. So here we have ID big button. So this. So these are above three selectors to find out the element of user input, password, as well as the button element. So when we use this hash, then ID, so we will get all the elements which has particular ID and in the document object model. Like here I am passing the username, so it will find out all the elements which has ID with user underscore name. So now next, so this is the approach of ID, how we use the ID. So now I'm moving on the class. So when we use the class, then how we do that? So let me create this username has a field and it has ID form control. We can use this, and in ID cases we are using hash, but here we will use the dot. So dot will represent a class attribute value. So now here you can see 1 of 4 we are getting. It means when we are using this dot class name class attribute value, it means we will get all the elements in the DOM which has a class attribute with form under hyphen control. So we will get, that's why we are getting here the currently 4 result, because there are 4 elements which has class with form under hyphen control. So now currently I am using one class, so we can also use multiple classes. Sometime we will get the compound classes for one particular element. Like if I give example here, you can see here there are 3 classes added, and here we are getting the space. 3 different classes added here for this element, right? So if we want to create the locator of this element with the help of using CSS class attribute, then how we do that? So I just pasted here all the elements. We can start from dot first one, then dot second without space, and then dot third. So it will highlight, it will find out the locators which has a class all three, these 3 values, right? So this is compound class here, like class 1 dot class 2. So all the 3 class should apply on same element. We can also, if there are multiple classes, we can use like this class 3rd and class 4. So this approach will give us the CSS selector, how we create the CSS selector when we have compound class. Now let me show you how we use the class as well as the ID both. So this has ID form. Yes, I can use this, or we can start from ID. So like this is the ID. So if we want to get the form locator, so we can use here ID, then space and class name, right? Or we can use greater than. So now there are 2 forms which are coming under this ID, login form ID. So this we can use. So first I am using ID and then class. So this will work like this, ID and class. Same, we can use this, suppose that this is the class, so we can use this one also, greater than dot class. So company logo, we will get company logo with the help of ID as well as this class, form sign in, and company logo class. So what is the difference between what is the this greater than? So this is similar to the in XPath we are using double single slash. So this is similar to the single slash. So if I want to create XPath with the help of this, let me show you how we create that. So for CSS, XPath we always need to start from the double slash, then tag name, and its tag name is div, then ID equal to here I can use the single slash, right? Div class equal to value, class value, then div class equal to so this is a form, this is not class, so I can reuse this form. And this is login form. Here is square bracket. So now you can see this is found out. So Greater than is just like a single slash which will just go with the child label of current node, right? This will check only the child. So if there is no child with form of this a div which contains the ID login form, then it will not found. It will check at descendant level only first level, at child level not other level or grandchild level. So here we are using the ID, then this similar type we can also use the class dot first class, then other attribute, like if I want to use the ID, then we can use the highest and then ID, right? First class, then ID. So we can use like this dot class greater than highest ID. So we can also do that dot at class 1 and then dot class 2. Let me show you example of this. Like here, you can see this is the class and these are the ID. And let me get an example. Yeah, here we can go. So there are multiple classes. These are the compound class. So we can use this dot 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 and then space greater than dot this. So here I'm using a first class and then at descendant level I am also using the class. So we can also use the class. Suppose that if there are two locators element which contains same class, but one is div and second is the span or some other tag. So with the help of using tag, we can uniquely identify that locator. So like suppose that this is the model dialog and we can use here first tag, then dot class. Right, so this is highlighted this. So here this is just example of element then dot class name. This similar type, this we can also use the ID here with tag name MENT. Okay, so let me show you how we use the ID with tag with element name. So suppose that this is ID. So again, I am coming here, F username. So this is the input. So we can use the input tag and highest and the ID. So if there are two IDs which are same for two different element, then we can use tag to separate to uniquely identify that particular element. This is ID. So currently you can see I am using here a greater than, but yes, we can also use the space, and space field looks like we are using double slash in XPath. This one, right? So if we want to remove this, then here we can use spaces. So what it will do, it will just check, select all the elements that is descendant of element login form element, like which element has contained login form. It will check all the descendant element of element which contains dot company logo. So now you can see I am getting here and I am skipping the tags which are between these two, right? So for that we can use space. This is just one element, space, second element, right? And if I create the XPath for this, so let me show you how we create the XPath. So for XPath, we can remove this complete and use here the double slash instead of single slash. So now this is also working. So this is the use of space as well as the greater than. Greater than will just check the descendant element which are first level, and when we are using the space, then it will check the descendant element, any descendant element which will contain corresponding locators. So these are the concept we can use to while creating the CSS selector, and so hope this will help to get understanding of CSS selector concepts. So in next video we will discuss more related to CSS selectors using different approach. So thanks for watching the video.